All right, this is probably the most difficult question all of us have to face. What kind of truck should we get? Um, when I first started out, uh, I had a pretty good, concise plan. I knew what I wanted to do and in the time frame I wanted to do it within the first few years of driving a truck. So I knew I wanted to start off as a lease operator. I didn't want to put a big down payment in a truck and then 5 months down the road say, oh my God, I really don't want to drive a truck anymore, or you know something else happened and I can't. I put a bunch of money into it and I have 5 years left of payments. So lease purchases, depending on who you ask, most people think they're bad. Myself, I think they serve a purpose. Um, Probably 99% of people who get into a lease purchase will never own that truck. Um, but it gets you into a truck and it helps you, learn and make money at the same time. So, yeah, that's what I did for the first, uh, I'd say 5 years is do the lease purchase thing, and it is expensive. And my thoughts when I started out were to get the newest truck I could with the most warranty left on it, so that if any major repairs have to happen, that they'd be covered under warranty, and I wouldn't be paying for a lot of repairs out of pocket. And as any of you know that's been driving for a while, it doesn't matter if you get in a brand new truck off the line or you get in a truck that's 800,000 miles. They are both going to cost you. They're both going to have repairs, and it's impossible to predict which one is going to be cheaper for you as far as repairs. Just impossible. And speaking from experience, I had a brand new truck at one time on a lease program, and that thing nickel and dimed me. It just had issues here and there that one right after the other. And then when I finally got out of that truck, I ended up later on getting into a newer T680. It was an owner operator spec, very nice truck, but that truck had major issues. It had a shake that nobody could figure out. Just kept nickel and dime over and over. It had electrical issues that it cost me thousands of dollars to try to get that fixed, and nobody, they would fix one part of it and they'd screw something else up. So and also had with less than 200,000 miles on it, the turbo went bad in it. So you just never know. Now I don't know, whoever had that truck before me might have just really screwed it up and treated it bad. Who knows? But I think it's just the luck of the draw most of the time as to how your truck treats you. There's something to be said, for staying on top of things and doing your maintenance and all that. But at the end of the day, some of these trucks just have issues. There's so many moving parts in this thing, so many systems that you're going to be paying for repairs whether you get a new one or an old one. So in my opinion, it doesn't matter. But you'll have that payment if you get the new one. So there's that. This truck that I'm in now, it was offered to me for $20,000. And sight unseen, I said, yeah, I want the truck. Draw up a contract. I'll come down there and take a look at the truck and we'll sign it. And they also offered me 0% financing. So I came down and looked at the truck. It had its issues. It had been wrecked. They had repaired it, part of it. There's still some bent pieces on it, but doesn't affect the driving. I could tell there was an oil leak coming off the front of the engine. and just a couple of it was an older truck. It's a 2015 Kenworth, and has the Cummins motor. And it was used for flatbed. Who knows how many people had been in it driving it, but so I was willing to take a chance at $20,000. But when I went in, say yes, I want the truck, they had did the bait and switch on me and told me it was $25,000. So after some long discussion, I realized I wasn't going to get anywhere with them, and thought somebody had run into my truck. It's the wind blowing. But I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere with them. So I debated it up, for about 10 minutes, and, $25,000 for what seemed like a decent truck, and then 0% financing. I went ahead and signed the contract and took the truck. The oil leak, I've had somebody look at it, and they said it could be $700 or it could be $7,000. They would have to pull the front cover and do a bunch of stuff to kind of figure out where exactly it's leaking from. So I've had the truck for almost a year now, and it doesn't leak any more oil today than it did day one. So gallon of oil is $10 or $11. So I'm gonna keep rolling with it until it gets if it starts getting worse, then I'll have somebody go into it. But other than that, I've had one major issue, and of course that was the DEF system. That seems to be the number one issue on all these, I say newer trucks, but for the past 10 years, anything with a DEF system, for whatever reason, DEF systems, they just haven't designed them well. Doser valves, sensors, getting them cleaned, or whatever. But so I had to have my DEF system replaced. It cost me $4,000, and knock on wood, thank the good Lord, that has been the only major repair. Other than that, I've replaced a tire, I've replaced a fuel pump on my APU. Oh, and that's another thing. The APU, it has an APU on it, and if you go down and price an APU, those are $12,000 by themselves. And this one had fairly low hours, and when I went and looked at the truck, it started up, ran perfect. So that was just a bonus. So yeah, this truck has definitely been a moneymaker. But I really believe it's just luck of the draw. You could go down, inspect a truck top to bottom, bring your mechanic with you, do an oil sample, all that good business, and drive it off the lot, and something happens to it. You just never know. So it's good to have a little money in the bank just in case something happens to them. But in my opinion, you'd be much better off with an older truck. You don't have to. This one, I drove it for about 2 months, and then realizing it was a decent truck, about a month and a half, well, more than 2 months, about 4 months into it, I went ahead and gave him the cash and paid for it. So it is very nice not having the truck payment. But even though I don't have the truck payment, I make a payment to myself just in case at one point this engine's going to have to be rebuilt, or some kind of major issue that you just can't foresee. Because every time you put one of these in the shop, you're talking $2,000, and when you put it in there and they fix one thing, something else breaks. So you just never know. Now, all along, my dad had drove a truck, my uncle had driven a truck, and my other uncle drove hot shot. So I've always thought about trucks, and all along since I started my driving career, I've always wanted that W900, the big sleeper, chromed out, the cat motor, and man, it would be nice. I'd look good in that thing. But another thing you have to consider is this truck, even though it's an older truck, 5 years old, over 600,000 miles on it now, I still get on average about 8 miles to the gallon. Um, you know, if you get one of those W9s with the cat motors in it, you'd be doing good to get 6 miles to the gallon. And you do the math over 100,000 miles over the course of a year, how much the difference in fuel is, and you can afford to pay for a couple of DEF systems with that fuel savings. So I would love to have that W900, and I'm definitely not putting it out of the picture. But right now, this one's working out for me. So definitely a moneymaker. But, you know, it's a coin toss with all of them.